You're listening to Brave Girls with Tracy Im, where we choose to empower you to be a better leader, mentor, and coach in the world. We'll share stories of people who have achieved great heights by overcoming adversity and rising to the challenge, all while pursuing their passions. These courageous people will inspire you to have faith in yourself and take bold action. Right here with the host of Brave Girls, Tracy Im.
Episode 26, Take a Stand with Jenny Fenig. Today's Brave Girls podcast episode is incredibly special to me as I interview my mentoring coach, Jenny Fenig, the creator of the Get Gutsy movement. She's been an instrumental person in my personal and professional growth over the last 5 years, and I'm so happy to share our conversation with you. Jenny's a fantastic, award-winning businesswoman, published author, and podcaster who loves to share her gifts with her clients through her programs, her coaching school, and her private retreats. Jenny shares some honest, real, and raw wisdom and truth bombs on the show that will surely inspire you. She shares how yoga changed her life and why she decided to step away from her six-figure corporate life to follow her passion to coach women. Jenny's got tons of advice on marketing your business and what she's learned in the 10 years that she's been her own boss. I especially like Jenny's perspective on following her curiosity and why using data and then running experiments in her business has evolved her offerings over time. She also talks about the personal growth and development industry today and what she sees going on in the marketplace. I hope you love listening to our conversation and understand why Jenny firmly believes it's time to take a stand in the world today and to use your platform for good. So let's dive deep with episode 26. So welcome to Brave Girls with Tracy M. Today, I'm so excited because we are going to be speaking with the amazing Jenny Fenig from Jenny Fenig Worldwide. And Jenny has been a really key person in my personal growth and development over the last 5 years. And so I'm excited to have her on the show today and tell us a little bit about her journey as a brave girl out in the world of entrepreneurship after her very successful six-figure corporate job in public relations in New York City. So welcome to the show, Jenny.
Thank you, Tracy. Pumped to be here.
Yeah, so you are the creator of the Get Gutsy movement. And tell us a little bit about the Get Gutsy movement and what inspired you to really lead this movement.
Okay, thank you for that opportunity. So yeah, that, I kind of look back and say, where did that all really come from? Well, when I left my corporate career, and yes, I did start my career in public relations, I unfortunately never got to the six-figure mark in my PR life. It was when I became a conference producer that I was like, oh, that's how you make some money in this corporate land. PR, I was like, working all the time and like barely squeaking by, to be honest. Which anyone who's like been in that background, you like understand. It's so intense, but you can be, financially successful in public relations, but typically not when you're super young, unless you like work for yourself and figure that out. So once I left corporate and found my way into coaching and really fell in love with serving women, primarily entrepreneurial women, once I kind of figured out, well, what is this whole like entrepreneur thing and having my own business? And I found that I really wanted to help women create businesses that were extensions of their biggest gifts and their personality and their desires and their dreams. I saw that so many of my people were scared, like they just led their lives through fear and doubt and overwhelm and excuse after excuse after excuse. And I just don't live like that. Like I just don't. And it's funny because I just actually did a little live stream today on Facebook about that. And I got really riled up because I do not, it's like I'm allergic to excuses. I'm allergic to people who come up with, I want to do that, but I just don't live like that. And I think a big piece is the traumas that I dealt with as a young child I was a teenager, specifically with my sister dying, my best friend's brother dying 6 months later, and then that best friend dying a few years after that. I had 3 deaths in 3 years. So I just don't play the whole, well, I wish I could do that, but I don't do that. So I have this distinct knowing that the only way you're going to do all the things that you really want to do, the only way you're going to have those things that you say that you want, is to get gutsy, is to be really brave, really courageous, really bold. Don't overthink it. Don't be like, well, what's going to happen like 20 steps down the road? Who fucking cares? And I had to drop the F-bomb there. But like, you can't do that to yourself. You don't know what's going to happen 20 steps down the road. You don't have to worry about 5 steps. It's just take that next step and trust that the one that comes after that will emerge, and then the next one will emerge, and the next one will emerge. And the universe enjoys seeing that you are bold. The universe wants you to be bold and take that step. And then the other piece of the Get Gutsy movement is listening to your gut, like really listening. Your body never lies to you. And so if you can really tap into your intuition and listen, even if it means going against popular convention, what other people say is like normal or okay to do. When you combine those things together, I have found that for myself and those women who have stepped forward to work with me, that is a very, very potent combination.
Right. And I know one of the things that you also did was you trained to be a yoga teacher.
Yes. Yeah, that was critical. And I did that before coaching. Like coaching was not what it is now. This was back in 2007. There was not a lot of social media even at that time. Like Facebook was in its infancy. So I just knew that up to then, I'd always been like pretty active as a kid, playing sports. Then I got into cheerleading. So I was always like, moving my body and stuff like that. And when I would do those things, I felt good. I felt really good. But I got into things that weren't healthy. I drank too much. I got into recreational drugs. And once I moved to New York City, I always had it going on, like a very good student, a leader, chosen for things, got this like big gig in New York City, and I grew up in Florida and Georgia. So that was a big deal. And so I was very much this like work hard, play hard thing. And I was horrible to my body. I would put food in here that was crap. I would eat and drink things, not only the alcohol piece, but, I was drinking like sodas all the time. I'm just now like, no, I'm not drinking soda. I'm just not even Diet Coke. Like, don't kid yourself. Like, just stay away from that. But I needed that. I felt like I needed that because I'm like tired, and 4 o'clock, you get that tired feeling at your desk, but I still got like 4 hours to go. So I'm, popping back my Coke and having my candy bar and like sugar mania. And, once I discovered yoga, like very soon into my New York City stint, and my public relations career was still very young then, it's like everything changed. And I realized, oh wait, there's this beauty to being healthy. Like, it feels really good to make positive choices around what you put into your body, not only food and drink, but also your thoughts and your breathing, being very conscious about that, how you move your body, the types of people that you're hanging out with, just the choices that you're making. And so once I got to that point in my corporate career, which I had gotten to a few times, which was, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, this isn't right. This isn't for me. This isn't my path. And I don't really know what the next thing is, which was terrifying. I just had this hunch that I'm going to go through yoga teacher training. I don't quite know where that's going to take me. That's the thing, y'all. You're not going to. And if you only will do things because you know 100% where it's going to take you, you're not going to do much in your life. So I just followed that hunch. I signed up for the yoga teacher training, and it was a 3-month program, 200 hours. And that was the catalyst. That was when I realized, okay, I am going to leave this 6-figure. It was a conference producer position where I learned a ton. I learned a lot about entrepreneurship and seeing people living their dreams and being speakers on my stages. And I'm just going to follow that. And that's what led me to quit the job take some time and then discover coaching, sign up for a coach training, and then boom, start a business as a coach.
Right. And I know you have your own coach training school now. And I know one of the things I think I know you said to me was that you saw a lot of coaches who had gone through this training, coach training, but they really weren't successful as business entrepreneurs, as selling their services and things like that. So you saw this gap in the market. So talk about that, because I know you've had hundreds of people now that have gone through that. And what have you seen as a result of that?
Well, yeah, our coaching school has been, a really neat experience to birth that and then invite people in and serve them and teach them. And so, yeah, I became a coach in 2008. So that's 10 years ago. It's more than 10 years now, because it was early 2008 when I started. And I just really started working with clients immediately. I was able to spread the joy of what I was doing. And that's one of the best client attraction techniques. It's not even a technique. You're just like being honest about, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm working with these people. And then I'd have people at a birthday party be like, it's just a friend of a friend going, I want to work with you. I need help. So that's how it started. And I just went on that path for a while. And I realized early on that coaching is wonderful, but even if you're a good coach, that doesn't mean that you know much about business and about, sales and enrollment and offers and profit and loss, all that stuff. So I did a lot of investing and working with coaches and being in programs, being in masterminds, just like soaking up as much as I could, because I felt very deeply that I had found the thing that I was here to do, which I never felt that way in my corporate career, unfortunately. I wished I would have felt that, but I just didn't. And once I found coaching, I just said, I'm going to do everything in my power to have this work, and was just doing it. And then seeing more and more coaches come out onto the scene because it became more popular. It became more, quote, common. You could call yourself a coach without going through any official training. So people were doing that because some coaches were making a lot of money. Others really weren't figuring out how to do that. So yeah, I just found a gap in the market a few years back where I just saw that there was two kind of issues. One was the really wonderful coach who was clueless around business and marketing, and they weren't really going to be able to coach that many people for too long because they were competing with the master marketers out there who were amazing at lead generation and really good with enrollment conversations and really good with like offers and funnels and Facebook ads. And they would call themselves a coach, but that didn't mean anything to them. It was just this like weird little quandary. And I felt like I had both of those things myself, the strengths that I had. And I wanted to create a place for women who were spiritual in nature and like really, really committed to helping people who could come in and not only learn how to be a fantastic coach, but also learn the building blocks of having a business as a coach. So that's why, and it was right after my book came out, Get Gutsy. That's why coach training school just came through. It was like, as soon as I published my book, which was a big undertaking, which I know you can appreciate being an author yourself, it became clear that this coaching school needed to come out. And I'm so grateful you went through our school. I'm so grateful that women see that this is a path you do want to take seriously. It's not just something like real flippant that you're like, oh yeah, I'm a coach. You have people's lives on the line, and they're investing to work with you, time, money, energy. I always feel like you want to be the best version of yourself as possible. And, that's why Get Gutsy Coach Training School exists.
That's great. That's really fantastic. And I know the other thing that happened shortly after your book, I believe, is your podcast.
Yeah, the book, I share that with a lot of clients or people who come in to my community, and you and I work together on this too in your business, but I call the book is like the best business card in the world. And what I have experienced and what I've seen happened for many other authors. Once you get that book out there, and you're not making the money off the book sales themselves. So don't kid yourself on that. I mean, unless you're like, you have a huge platform and you're traditionally published and they give you like a massive advance and all that, like, all right, that's cool. But that's a very, very small percentage of the market. Typically you're going to, self-publish, or maybe you will traditionally publish, but the sales are the sales. The way you make the money is through your offerings, your programs, maybe working with you privately, speaking engagements, that kind of thing. So yeah, in my case, it was the book. The next thing was my coaching school. Then I took a small group of women through a book writing immersion course because I wanted them to know like everything that I had learned, and I had invested over $20,000 to learn that, and years, I was like, can I condense the learning cycle there and went through, because I want you to get your book out there. I know you have stories. And then the podcast. Yeah. And the podcast Get Gutsy came. So, you got to just trust that if you have something that is meant to come through you, it's not going to be easy to get it out there because it just takes time. It takes discipline and commitment and resources to get it out there, but it will absolutely lead to some things that are extraordinary, and you've got to trust that.
Right. Yeah. And I know you've got, I don't know, something like close to 200 episodes, I think, that you've already done.
We just we hit 200 in June of 2018. And then I took a little sabbatical over the summer, which felt really good. We're recording this in the summer and I'm still on that. And it's, that's another point I want to make, is that you're allowed to take a break. You're allowed to say, you know what? My first kind of mission with that show was complete. And I felt like I had done the things that I wanted to do. And I'm a mom of 3. I homeschool my 2 oldest kids. My daughter, when fall rolls around, she'll be in kindergarten. It's a mixed age kindergarten. She'll be there 4 days a week. And between my husband and myself, we homeschool our sons and we bring in additional teachers. And thank God for the business that I have, because, maybe my soul knew that this was coming. I did not know. And so now that we're here, we can make this work, because Stephen and I both work from home, and, we have the resources and ability to bring in additional support so that we can give our kids the best education for them. And once it was summer, I just felt like I'm taking a breather. Like, summer is so short where I live in the Berkshires of Massachusetts. I have programs that I'm leading. I have clients. I have stuff that I've got going on, but I wanted to work a very condensed, lighter schedule in the summer because. And when you make those choices, something has to give. And so in my case, it was, we're going on sabbatical with the podcast, and I'm feeling into what does it want to do? Like, what is it meant to do when we resume? And so I make that suggestion to everyone tuning in. Don't be afraid of that. Don't try to keep up and like, oh, so-and-so is doing blah, blah. It's like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? A podcast is a wonderful thing, but it's also like a long game strategy in a business. It's not like, oh my gosh, you got like 8,000 clients from like your first 5 episodes. It's just it's not that kind of a strategy. It's amazing. And I loved the first 200 episodes. Like, it's just, I've talked to so many wonderful people. I learned a ton. Like, it was, and you'll experience this too with your podcast. I would always hear when I was interviewing the guests, like, exactly what I needed to hear that day. It was like, oh, thank you. Like, it was kind of like just this master class with amazingly smart, awesome people. And then I got to share those conversations with my audience.
Right. And have you seen your audience? Did you see your audience grow over time? I know that a podcast could be international. It can really give you a global reach.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like you'll have people all over tuning in, but honestly, no, the numbers did not grow over time. And so that was something I really had to look at. It was like, okay, I'm looking at that. Now, numbers aren't everything, but the market is more saturated than ever. There's every person, not every, but a lot of people do podcasts. I know I had, my fans who like really love listening to the show, but that was also a piece of my sabbatical, and I'm not through it yet. And I don't know what the next step is at this moment. Because there's just so many other ways to connect with your audience. I love to talk, but I also really, really love to write. And I felt like I wasn't writing as much as I wanted to because my time is so splintered. So you do need to look at the metrics and also like the own metric of, am I fulfilled? Like, is this satisfying for me? You need to look at, again, other ways of kind of coming up with the media now that there's like live streaming is so awesome. I'm kind of contemplating doing some of my interviews on live stream and like having those be in real time and then taking out the audio and then putting that, publishing on the podcast as well, just to give to people who just listen and they don't really watch as much. So I'm still in the kind of sitting with it phase, but no regrets. Like it was rad and I had a blast, and I know whatever is meant to come next will.
Right. And I think some of it goes back to, why are you even doing it, and what is it that you're trying to achieve? And I know for you in your podcast, it was very much about promoting your programs and and letting people know what you had to offer, and to expand that outside of maybe the universe of people that may have known who you were through these other people's networks. And so I'm sure that it helped expand in that way, as well as, like you said, educational conversations and all of that.
Yeah, totally. And you'll develop relationships with some of those people that you talk to. I developed really good, like a very good friend with someone who came on, which I had respected her work. Yep, that's cool. Winnie's going out. I had respected her work for a while. We like really connected, and then she ended up moving, back to the state that I live in, and we've hung out. And so that was like, that's a really cool thing that's happened. From the show, I was able to have some of my clients on. We were able to do like some neat stuff on there. So I think you just really have to, again, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is it still exciting for me now? Like, do I love it as much now as I did then? For me, it was 200 episodes, 2.5 years. It was 2.5 years. That's a long time. That's a really, really long time. And again, I don't know exactly kind of where it's going to go next. And I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay. I think you all have to so tune into, where am I now? What is the best use of my time and my resources? I mean, that's like my biggest thing, is what is the best use of my energy? And what was a great use 2.5 years ago might not be a great use anymore. I'm the type too, as a Gemini, if I get bored, if I'm kind of feel like I've learned all there is to learn right there, then I'm done. I'm all set. And there's something new that I'm meant to learn, that I'm meant to go into. So, just as an example, I've never really been into like Pinterest, let's just talk about like a social media strategy. But I have clients who are like, oh my God, it's so good. And there's this woman who I know, she's very big on social media, and she had this like free Pinterest course or free Pinterest like training. And so I had someone on my team attend, and I'm like, tell me what you learned. Like, what'd you say? And do you think it would be like a good thing for this business to get into that, to develop like a Pinterest strategy? And so she came back, and I talked to some other people, and I was like, all right, I want you to sign up for the course and go through it. And we're going to then set up like a presence on Pinterest. And so again, like that's just an example of what's the best use of the resources right now. Like you've kind of been fishing in a pond for a while. Now I'm going to go into this lake now and go over there and see what's going on. Because I'm just insatiably curious. And so I want to follow my curiosity. I'm always running different experiments. When I feel like I'm done with a particular thing, it's complete, then I don't just continue doing it just because I had been doing it. I am so willing to either put a pause on it, end it, move on, refresh it, just something. And I think I know it's an important point to make, because if you hold on to something forever and you're just like not into it anymore, you're missing something else that's like really calling to you. So don't be afraid to kind of shake things up.
Yeah, and I think also your energy or your vibe around that thing is going to show your lack of enthusiasm. And so people intuitively will pick up on that, she's not really that into it. Yeah, she's been offering the blah, blah, blah course for 5 years and it's making her, 7 figures. And so I know, like, I'm just been watching you over the last few months, and it's like you came out with Intuitive Power, Power Brand Camp, Time Mastery, like a lot of the things that you've taught in other ways, but you've reshaped it, rejiggered it, refreshed it so that maybe it's a more snackable content that somebody could absorb at a lower price point, but it's fresh and it's new, and you're bringing that out. So how do you go about, because I feel like you're a content like just ninja around this. So talk a little bit about how you come up with your courses and your programs. I know a lot of them drop into you.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I thought a lot about that. I go through seasons, and we all do, especially women. We are cyclical, we are seasonal, we absolutely flow with the moon. We are the moon. For those of us who still cycle, or even if you don't, you are the moon. So you do want to be tuning into where you are on the lunar cycle and how that's impacting your energy. For me, I'll have like seasons or even years of like massive creation. And then I'll have other seasons where I'm just really nourishing one thing or two things, because I'm just like, I'm here. And a lot of that has had to do with where I am in my family's journey. When I was pregnant, like growing a child, when I was, and speaking of that, like Kate just busted in. Okay. You want to say hi? Okay. You have to go out there. Okay. Yeah, come on.
Oh, hi, Kate.
That's Tracy. Yep, out you go. Okay, love you. Yeah, I was like on cue when I'm like birthing a child, when they're young, when I'm breastfeeding. There was like a different energy then. I had like a certain amount of bandwidth. You're like more grounded at that time, in terms of I couldn't go that far away from home. And so there was like a different energy then than, for instance, where I would be now. And so this particular year, 2018, has been a year of, I just have called it like the year of the experiment. And I've just been like running these experiments, following my curiosity, and allowing what comes through to come through. I don't act on every idea, because that would just be nuts, but I have enough data from the 10 years that I've been in business to know how things work. And I see what's going on in the market. I see the industry and how that is evolving. And so for this year, it's been, okay, I wanted to create some fresh, well, the content just came through. Like the beginning of the year, it was really me super working with my intuition and just like clearing the decks. I did a 2-week, I think it was 2 weeks. It might've been even a little bit more, social media detox around the holidays into the new year. And that was extraordinary. I wasn't getting everyone's messages. I didn't know what was going on in people's lives. And that's good. We don't always need to know what's going on. So-and-so went on vacation there. It's like, I don't even know them. But oh my God, that vacation, but, so I just cleared that. And that's when a book that I read earlier this year really cracked me open. It's called Witch by Lisa Lister. And it was through that, like, that intuitive power came in, which is a program all about working with the lunar cycle, working with your intuition, working with spirit, and understanding how that impacts your creativity and your creation cycle. Like the energy that you have at the different phases of the moon, it shifts. And if you don't get that, then you're constantly pushing against it. You are pushing against what it is to be a woman, what it is to be wild and free. I was also reading Women Who Went with the Wolves at that point. So I'm influenced by books. I'm influenced by literally the time of the year that it is. That was also winter, and I was like doing a lot of inward, I'm like, it's cold and I'm inside and I'm staying warm and I'm like really cocooning. And then, and then Program Creatrix that came through this year, because I had been just teaching that to people, with clients who would work with me, and high-end programs, they'd want to talk about creating a program, and I would consult with them on that and coach them around it. But I hadn't like codified the process and like put it down into a program. And it was all in my head, and I've just been doing it long that I'm like, doesn't everyone know how to do this? No, they don't. So, okay, I'm going to create a program around that, and it's called Program Creatrix. And the way, to talk about naming, like that name Creatrix, well, I saw it in two spots and it really inspired me. One was a chapter in that book, Witch, was called Creatrix, and that really just jumped out at me. And then when I went to Salem, Massachusetts earlier this year with the friend that I became super good friends with because she was on my podcast, I bought that tincture in a really cool shop, and it was called Creatrix. And it was like, I just kept seeing, that's how I do stuff. Like that's how brands get created in my world, is I just see them enough times and it's like, boom, that's all I need to know. And so that program was awesome to lead, because it really brought women through this process of figuring out, what is this program that you have inside of you? What is this like retreat? What is this course? What is this process that you take people through? And here's how you can do it. So you can figure out what it is and then launch it out into the world. So, those are two examples of new programs that came this year. I'm going to run both of those this year again, and that's just it. You run it as an experiment. And something that I did this year that was so awesome, that kind of freed me from everything needing to feel heavy and like a big deal and like so official, was in my project management software, which we use Asana, which is a project management tool. I created a project. I have this like fly that's running around. I created a project that was called Experiments. And in the Experiments project went Intuitive Power, went Program Creatrix, went Power Brand Camp. And so that gave me permission to just run it as an experiment. Jesse, the other experiment, I partnered with Gabby Bernstein. I was an affiliate for Spirit Junkie Masterclass this year, and I had been through it several years ago, and that went under the experiment category. I was like, okay, this is the first time I'm going to be an affiliate for her program. I'm going to go for it, and we invested. I hired a Facebook ads team for that, because I was really passionate about the program and I wanted people to know about it. And I felt like my community would really appreciate going through it. And a lot of our coach training school grads, I know you went through it, they ended up signing up for it. So all those examples were run as experiments. I have my other programs that had been around longer that I still have been running, and those aren't considered experiments. But, every time I do something, I'm just kind of like testing, how does this feel? How does this work? Is this, how I want to do it, or would I shift it next time? So, if you can go through with that energy, that mindset, it allows you to just have more fun, not make it so like heavy, like, oh my God, this has to like work 1,000%. Mm-hmm.
Right. It allows you to play, and it takes a lot of that pressure off of being attached to the outcome of, well, this better work and I better start making money like right away. And where are the clients, and that anxious energy that would go along with something more serious.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. So everyone, run some experiments.
Right, right. So where do you kind of see the personal growth and development industry kind of going, and where do you really kind of see your role? I mean, with 10 years under your belt,
Mm-hmm.
you're no newcomer. I'm sure you've seen people come and go,
Mm-hmm.
and where, and I would imagine that, even the master marketers, if they're not really good coaches, they're going to
Mm-hmm.
kind of fall out from the
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah. There's a lot we can say. I'm just going to close my door so that.
Okay.
Do the right thing. Okay. I had to do a little parenting there. And I'm like, my legs are on fire. I'm doing this like new fitness program. And I'm like, oh my God, it's really good though. I'm like growing, I'm stretching, I'm getting stronger. So this industry is like it's an interesting, how do I want to call it? It's like an interesting animal, nut to crack. And gosh, it is, I think, rooted in a lot of love and a lot of desire to help people. I think that's why most people are called to get into this industry. But there are many people who I feel aren't really doing the work, like aren't really doing the work where you gotta deal with your stuff. Like
Hmm.
that really is the work. The work is you dealing with your own stuff so that you're not putting that on your clients or on the industry or on social media or whatever. It's like, in order to really serve at a high level, you've got to be willing to look at all the parts of you and go through immense healing. You've got to make sure that you are keeping out of the street clean and that you are really in integrity. And, because social media is what it is, it's very easy to just come out there and have, really great photographs and, again, like awesome graphics or your major like funnel hacker, whatever. And I'm still not doing the funnel thing, but in order to withstand the test of time, you need to do your own work. And if you're not willing, then you're not the kind of coach or guide who truly has what it takes to go on this journey for the long haul. So I've seen, like you said, a lot of people come and go. That's why I started my coaching school, because I was like, I want to give you like a fighting chance to actually make it. I can't control what happens to anyone who I work with. All I can do is do my absolute best to guide them, to show them what's possible, to answer the questions that I know the answers to, tell them to run those freaking experiments. Like, the only way out is through. You're not going to do this by hiding out. Like, you've got to be visible. You've got to process stuff. You've got to do all that, do the work. But yeah, what I know to be true is the work is the way. And the other piece that I want to say is we are living in really interesting times right now, and quite divisive times. I mean, I was actually talking to a young person that, I've known for a long time. She's in her 20s, and she's like really freaked out, about what's going on in the world. She's super smart. And she was saying, I was listening to NPR, and this person who's like, in his older years, maybe like in his 70s or something, he's like, this has never gone on before, like in terms of what's happening in the world. And so I think it would be remiss not to discuss that too, the responsibility that we have as leaders, the responsibility that we have as leaders of community. If we have people looking to us, then I believe it is our responsibility to take a stand for what we believe is true and right and good in this world. And I've seen some people, talk about, you shouldn't say that, and you don't need to mix like politics, or don't talk about that. And like, if you say how you feel, then you're going to turn away these other people who blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I just agree with that. I do feel it is our responsibility to take a stand. Right now there are some, horrible things happening in the world. There's always been horrible things happening, but in the United States especially, there's like major craziness right now. And, if I was living back in the day of like, the Nazi era, I'm not going to like go coach a Nazi just because, I'm not going to tell him my politics because, that would be not right. And he needs my help. It's like, no, like you are allowed to take a stand for what you believe in. And some people aren't going to like it. They're not going to agree with you. Like, if you don't believe that like every like mentally unstable person should just be able to have a gun because, hey, why not? Mm-hmm. It's written into the Constitution. Then you're allowed to speak up for that. And I have so much respect for people and organizations who do that. I did sporting goods today with my sons, and I freaking love that place because they took a stand when it came to gun control. And they were going to stop selling a particular type of gun in their store and to not sell it to a person, under a certain age. And I remember when they made that decision, and I went to their Facebook page and I was like, yes, thank you for taking a stand. And let me tell you, there was a lot of pissed off people. And then there were others who were like, I am going to do business at Dick's Sporting Goods for the rest of my life because you took a stand for what you believe in. So I see some of that in the industry. Like, this isn't the industry just to get into because, you want to put up pretty pictures and have photo shoots and like go on a cool retreat and, drink wine with your clients. Like, come on. Like, that's just, to me, is so two-dimensional. Like, really? That to me is not what this is. I feel like so many, myself included, who got here, we have, activism in our bones. Like, we really do care what goes on like a larger level than just in the freaking coaching industry. Like, I'm not interested in just that. That to me is so not what this is for. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with people who just want to stay over there, but I have bigger vision. I have bigger dreams. I want to use my platform for good. And I invite everyone else to do the same. And don't be worried about like, so-and-so's not going to get it. Like, they're not even going to get that you wore this dress today, so don't worry about that. With my sons, we just did a fundraiser for that organization, Raices, they're doing extraordinary work with families who've been separated at the border. I think about that, I get so pissed. I'm just like, what the? It's like, what? No. And so as part of something we do in homeschooling, we have this like scouting program that we're in. And I don't tell them everything that's going on in the world because they're still young and they'll figure that out in due time. But we did share about, families being separated, and I vehemently am opposed to that. And I don't think it's right either that families should be, broken apart in that way. And so we were able to use this platform of Facebook to run a fundraiser. And so I'm very grateful that Facebook offers that, where you can run a fundraiser on Facebook, and Facebook gives every penny to the organization that you raise the funds for, which I think is fantastic. And so again, I have developed some kind of a platform at this stage. So I was sending it out. My husband sent it out to his people. We set a goal to raise $500 in, 2 weeks. My sons were like thrilled. And we raised $525 just by, writing something up about the fundraiser and sharing it, a few times. So that to me that's what it's about. It's like my the ultimate truth at this stage is that financially free women will change the world. And that's why I do this work. Yes, to help people. Yes, I enjoy making money. Yes, I enjoy helping my clients like really come into earning money when they're in alignment with their gifts, when they're in alignment with the way they want to work and how they want to work and where they want to work and how much they want to work. And I think it's just so fantastic when women come into money or start making more money, or just figure out that they actually don't need to make as much as they did in corporate because they can just do it differently over here. Maybe they'll make more because whatever. But women, when we have the money, we do wonderful things with it. There's a great article from the Wall Street Journal. I can share the link with you if you want to share it with your audience, but I recently shared it with my community, and it's just about there's a big gender gap when it comes to philanthropic giving, and across the board, women give more. We give more to social causes. We give more to people who really need it. And we're not doing it for recognition, and we're not doing it just because we think it's going to make us look good. We do it because it's in our bones. It's like in our freaking blood. And that gets me fired up because we have a lot of issues in the world right now. We do need money to solve those issues. And when the money is in the women's hands, wash out.
Right.
Good things are happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I hope that more people in the industry do speak up about what they're about. Start fundraisers, give the money, speak up about this, spread the word about injustices. And it can get overwhelming. It's like, you can't tackle every issue out there in the world, but choose a few that you're really passionate about and, get behind them in some way. If you have, I have a friend who's running for political office and here in the Berkshires, supporting her campaign, doing this, kind of gathering for her with other women just so we can hear about her platform. It's like the global stuff and the national stuff is important to know about. Absolutely. But what can you do locally as well? Really look at that and know that you have a role. You can't just complain about it. Like, you got it, put your energy into positive action.
Right. No, I think that's so true. And I think that, even when a small group of people get together and make small contributions, at the end of the day can end up being large. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So individually, we might not be able to do it. And I know that Glennon Doyle Melton has her Rising Strong that she has put together. Together Rising. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just, the whole movement that she was able to create in, a very short amount of time. They did all the research of which organizations the money needed to go to.
Yep.
They gave, the money went directly to the on the ground resources, and it's like, boom, within 24 hours, within 48 hours, 72
Totally.
hours. And,
Totally.
it was people giving $10, $25.
Yeah.
It was not big checks, right?
I donated to that campaign, and absolutely, like, that right there is just someone using her platform for good. Like, that's it. And there's another example of, there was like a Facebook campaign. I also donated to that campaign. It was just a married couple. I think they both used to work at Facebook. They live in the Silicon Valley area, but they just started, I think it was called like Help an Immigrant Child Reunite with Their Parents or something like that, or Help Reunite an Immigrant Parent with Their Child. And their goal was $1,500 to raise. They raised over $20 million. Wow. Yeah. And so it's like, we want to help. We, again, we don't have to get like super political about stuff, but I believe there's a lot of horrible things going on right now. And there's people in positions of power who are abusing that power and who aren't healthy. And we still do have power. It's like power to the people. And so, use your platform for good, start something. The thing that you start might not have anything to do with like your business, but like that might end up being the thing, like that just goes to this other level or just opens you to new people or new doors, new passions. You're not done. We're all still alive. You're listening to this right now. I always say, when you're done, you're dead. So we're not done yet. Don't get lazy. Don't get complacent. I'm always looking for kind of, where else can I stretch? Where am I getting lazy? I realized recently I was getting lazy with my fitness, and because my body just tends to stay the same weight all the time, it's like, well, whatever, like I can go to yoga like 2 days a week. That's all I can do right now, 'cause I got like full life. And I always would just default to like work. I went through many periods where I was working too much, where that had just become, it was like my MO. I did that in corporate land too. I was working too much, like proving that I'm valuable, that I have worth, that if I just produce enough, then I'll really be loved and admired. Then I'll have made it, right? And that you never get there. It's like you'll never get there. And so that was an area where I found I'm getting lazy, and that's not working. That's not sustainable for me. I'm now in my 40s. And so I've really just made some shifts around that, and I'm feeling really good. I think that's also the mark of a very strong leader, is that you have someone who's willing to see where she or he has gotten lazy. They've gotten complacent. Like they're kind of hiding. They're not, they're not willing to look at something that actually does need to be looked at. So, check in with your people around that, like the people you choose to work with, how are they being willing to, look at their stuff? Are they in alignment with where you are in alignment? Like my whole thing now is just being really healthy, being this like clear channel. My greatest downloads are just that, like from my intuition and from spirit. And so when I can really treat this body like this extraordinary temple, be so good to her, listen to her, don't overwork her. She doesn't need that. Like she's done that for a long time. When I really do that, which is not always easy for me, then I'm rewarded in the most beautiful ways. And I hope that, really lands for everyone tuning in. Gotta take care of her, take care of her.
Right. So my finale question that I'd like to ask you is, what's the bravest thing that you've ever done, Jenny, and how does it inspire you today?
Yeah, that's a good one. The bravest thing I've ever done. Well, I think the bravest thing that I've ever done, we talked about like the career stuff, and that's all good. The bravest thing I've ever done has been to surrender to spirit, to really have a relationship with God and with my higher power, and to trust that even when I don't know how it's all working out or what's going on, that it just is. I didn't have that growing up. I wasn't really in that environment growing up. My father was very religious. He was very Catholic. My mother didn't see her really identifying with a particular religious path. And I don't consider myself religious. And I kind of really pushed against that, especially after my sister Julie died from cancer. And I was like very angry. And I'm like, okay, if there was ever a God, like, okay, there is no God, because no God would ever take a 12-year-old girl from cancer. That's ridiculous. And then, again, I had another death 6 months later that I was like, what the? And then he was the brother of my best friend. And then my brother died. And so I had this like very intense experience as a 16 to 19-year-old. And I was able to kind of, when you come face to face with death like that, like you come very close to God, because you're like at the veil, you're like piercing the veil. And I was able to really start having this conversation, this dialogue, like really be present with what it is to believe in something and have faith, even though you're going through something horrible. And once I, really moved into my life and my career, I went to New York City, which was like a big move, coming from the South. The courageous piece was listening to that voice inside. And I believe the voice is God. And we have that connection that we're able to access anytime. And you can call God whatever you desire, whatever feels right to you. But as soon as I was willing to do that, which again, I tried to avoid that for as long as possible and numb out in every way imaginable. That's when really the magic happened. And, that's when I met my husband. That's when I was able to like changed careers. That's when I got deeper into yoga. That's when we decided to move from New York City here to the Berkshires, even though people are like, what are you doing? That's when the baby started coming, and this life that we have now, it's just, whoa. Whoa. And I encourage everyone to really figure that out for yourself. You may already have that, but if you don't, it's not too late. Absolutely not too late. And that cultivating that small, still voice within, that's like the greatest relationship you'll ever have, over and above the relationship that you have with all the important people in your life. So that to me was the bravest thing that I've ever done, because that was me surrendering and not letting like the ego rule the day.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Jenny.
Mm-hmm. My pleasure.
So thank you for being on this episode. I know that there were so many truth bombs, so many gems that you shared, and I know that our audience will really get something that we didn't even know that it was such a truth bomb. And so thank you so much. And I just wish you continued success on your journey as you continue to use your platform for good and to change lives. And, you've been somebody who's been really important in my life, and I just really appreciate you.
Thank you, Tracy, and well done on all of your creations and staying on the path. That's one of the hardest things to do, but the wisest things to do is just stay on whatever path is yours, even when there's lots of things that want to pull you off and take you over here, and just, why don't you just stay here? And you're like, nope, I got to keep going. So well done. And I salute you, and I'm proud of you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Brave Girls with Tracy M. as much as I did creating it. Each show is produced with you, the listener, in mind, as you look for inspiration and motivation from other brave souls as you pursue your desires. I'd love to hear your feedback, so please leave me a review on iTunes. I read every one. And check out my website, tracym.com, for more free resources. You can also join my list and sign up for my newsletter right from the homepage. Until next time, stay strong, believe in your dreams, and go do something brave.
We appreciate you joining us for this episode of Brave Girls with Tracy M. and hope that you enjoyed the show. For more information about today's episode, as well as additional free resources to help you achieve greatness in your life, visit tracym.com and sign up for our mailing list. Until next time, dream big, believe in yourself, and let your brilliance shine as only you can do.